Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anne, and today we are doing the Paperback Book Club for December, which is In a Dream House by Carmen Marie Machado. And I'm joined today by
So I'm Ebony, and my channel is Butterflies on My Bookshelf. If you want to come hang out with me, that's how you find me. And I'm really excited to talk about today's book.
Okay, so In a Dream House by Carmen Marie Machado it's sort of a memoir that is about an abusive relationship that is part of the LGBT community. There's not really much else that I can say. It's just kind of a memoir of her life. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do have my copy here. It's actually a library book, so it doesn't have a dust jacket because for whatever reason, my school library doesn't put the dust jackets on them.
Yeah.
But I tabbed the crap out of this thing.
Oh, okay.
Literally, it was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Should we tell them what we rated it?
Yep.
Okay, I gave it.
You can go first.
I gave it 4.5 stars.
Nice. I gave it 3 stars. I read it a couple of weeks ago, and I had no idea before this morning sort of what I was going to rate it. So I gave it 3 stars, kind of middle of the road. I did enjoy it, but there was a lot of things that I felt like were disconjointed and just different. I didn't love it as many people did, and I think that because I listened to it on audio, that I kind of missed a lot of it, and I didn't get to read it physically. So I feel like I missed something there with listening to it on audio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read it physically, and it was a great experience. So it might have been just because you went the audio route. So maybe you might want to try reading it physically if you want to. It's pretty short. It's kind of like a segmented essay. So some of the pages are really short like this, and so it didn't really take me that long to read, and I really liked that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did you feel?
Yeah, the audio was quite short too. I think it was only like 5 hours.
Oh wow, that's short. How did you feel about the narration, the main character, the author, since it's a memoir?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. It was quite confusing at times. I found that the second person didn't really get me to connect with the author and kind of sympathize with her and kind of understand her thought process as this abuse formed. I found it quite disjointed, and I felt like some of the chapters kind of went about TV shows and movies, and I just kind of felt lost at times. It was definitely an interesting way to kind of tell a memoir in the second person as like, you did this, you did that. I've not read many second person narrations, so it was definitely intriguing.
I think I totally disagree with you, but I also think that it comes from the classes I've been taking recently. I really liked that it was written in second person. I just took a poetry class this last semester, and one of the first things we talked about was point of view. And my professor was like, second person is the most intimate point of view because you're literally putting the reader in the narrator's foot, in the narrator's shoes. And so I really liked that it was in second person because it just felt really intimate. But also I think I've gotten used to reading and writing poems in second person, so it's not as jarring for me. And also I know you mentioned that you didn't like how some the sections were about movies, but they do tie into the whole story in a certain way. And that is, I took a creative nonfiction class this semester as well, and we talked about different types of creative nonfiction essays, including memoirs. And this is a segmented story because it's split into sections essentially. And so the author used different movies and TV shows in different segments to sort of play on what the narrative was about, if that makes sense. So I liked it, but also I think I have more
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did feel kind of lost with it. I just didn't kind of see the tie-in. But I definitely where you're coming from there, because you kind of have that background knowledge of your classes and stuff, which is really interesting. But yeah, I just kind of felt like sometimes it was disjointed. But again, that could be because I listened to it already. If I read it,
Mm-hmm.
reread it if I can get the physical copy and kind of see my feelings, because I definitely think the audio kind of lost some things in translation.
I loved the whole, just the writing in general. Like, it really felt like I was in a dream at times. Like, it really had that like quality of being in a place, but like also kind of not being in that place, like being like disconnected from. I don't know if that makes sense. In my head, it makes sense, but I
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah.
I just, yeah. I think that the story was so well told too, like at least for me, like of how the
Yeah,
narrator
yeah.
relationship sort of went with the girl, the unnamed girl. She never gets a name throughout the whole story, and just how it
Mm.
developed, and also how like the narrator's childhood played a role in that development as well. I don't know. I just thought it was really good.
Yeah.
um,
That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it was definitely intriguing.
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite part of the story, I tabbed it in one of these gajillions of tabs. There was like a portion where, oh yeah, here it is, where it's like a choose your own adventure thing. And so it's like this, and it's like, if you do this, turn to this page. And if you do this, turn to this page. And of course, like, being me, I couldn't just like pick what I wanted to do and turn to the page like you would normally do for a choose your adventure. And I don't think that it's intended for you to do it that way. It's still a book, and so you still would read it normally. But like, so like I read them like in sequence, I guess. Like I just continued turning the pages and read it that way. But I also like that some of the
Yeah.
pages were like, here you are, a page where you shouldn't be. It's impossible for you to be here naturally, so you're cheating. So like the book, like the author knew that the readers would read it like normally, and so she like threw in there's like a couple of pages like this where it's like, there's no way that you should be here. You're reading it not the way you're supposed to be. I don't know. I just thought that was really fun. It was a really good like way to enhance the story.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't um I don't think that was in the audiobook, because it would have gotten a bit lost in
Mm-hmm.
translation with the audiobook, so that might be a bit like missing from the audio. I wish
Mm-hmm.
I kind of read it physically now, but maybe I'll reread it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I feel like that would be hard to do in an audiobook. But that's
Yeah,
unfortunate that you didn't
definitely.
get to experience that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but I'll definitely think I'm going to reread it and kind of go through it physically and see how I feel about it then. I just kind of felt really disconnected, and like the narration was quite cold and distant, and I get that it's probably a difficult topic for the author to talk about, but it was definitely
Mm-hmm.
such an intriguing way to kind of go about. I really enjoyed the oh god, what's the word?
Abuse?
Awareness. That's the word. The awareness that it puts to
Mm-hmm.
the abuse in LGBTQ relationships, because you don't hear about it very often. So it was really, really
Mm-hmm.
nice to kind of see this book was aimed towards like, if you're in an abusive LGBT relationship, I've been there. I know exactly what you're like, what's going on, and I see you, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Um, I don't really have that many other thoughts without getting into spoilers. I feel like this is kind of one of those books you just need to read without knowing too much. So,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we want to move into spoilers, it's a little early. Usually we wait a little longer, but like There's a
Yeah.
lot that I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to start now. So if you haven't read the book, um, and we will start talking about spoilers, and then when you read the book, come back and kind of find what we.
Mhm.
Okay. So hopefully, whoever hasn't read. Okay.
So, oh my goodness, I just have like so many emotions about this story. I wonder if she froze. She's frozen for me, guys. Anne, are you alive? Uh-oh. She's frozen. Okay, I guess I will just talk. So I have a lot of thoughts about this story because there are like there's so many things that the author goes into, like within her childhood. Like, for example, there was like a time when her parents were fighting and she like wanted to hide in her room, and her mom was like, this isn't your room, this is my room, and I'm permitting you to live here. And so they like took the doorknob off of her door, and then she like never felt that sort of security because she was never able to like have her own space. And that part, like that happened at the beginning. Oh no, we lost her. Hopefully she'll come back. I'm just gonna keep talking so you guys don't get bored. But anyway, that part that happened at the beginning of the story came into play way later, after the abuse was going on, where the lover, girlfriend, she doesn't have a name, so the girlfriend is chasing Carmen, the narrator, the author, like through the house, and Carmen like locks herself in the bathroom, and like she sort of recalls that memory of her parents like taking the doorknob off, and she like mentions like, I really hope that the girlfriend doesn't have like the knowledge to take the doorknob off, because I wouldn't be able to like protect myself if there wasn't a doorknob. And like there was just a lot of things like that that sort of came into play later. I remember there was another scene that like I thought it was going to go a certain way and then it didn't. So there was like a scene when Carmen was like in high school, like a teenager, and she became like really, really close with the pastor at her church, where like they like too close, like not just pastor and church member, like they were like literally friends. And of course he was an adult and she was a teenager, and so that's kind of a little bit of an issue. And like there was like portions where they'd be like camping, like with some church trip, and then like they got like they would be talking and it'd be dark and there'd be like a campfire, and like I'm like, oh, something's gonna happen and that's bad. I'm sorry, it's Anne is texting me. But yeah, it's like I thought that something bad was going to happen, and like that sort of would be like the setup for what happened later. But actually nothing inherently bad did happen. There was no like abuse or anything like that that I thought was going to happen. But they did sort of grow apart because she went to college, and then eventually he actually got like fired from the church because of he was like doing something with somebody who was like a member, and so they like fired him from the church. And so she was like, I want to be here for you, like you were there for me all those times. And he was like, I'm fine, I don't need you, or something like that. And then so they like stopped talking, and like I don't know, that was a really interesting dynamic because she's back. Are you okay? Can you hear me all right? I hear like keyboard clicks, but that's it. Um, Anne? She's frozen. And you're still frozen for me. Oh, I'm back. Okay. Sorry, guys. Anne said that hers is still frozen. Okay, I'm back again. Please don't kick me out again, Anne. Okay. I guess I'll just keep talking, and hopefully Anne's internet can like work. Because I think it's Anne. I think it's your internet. I'm back. Okay. Sorry guys, I don't know what's happening. Anne's like internet is being really weird. And because Anne is in charge of the live show, like she can only add me into the broadcast and her internet isn't working, so it's like not letting her load the page. It's just oh my goodness, it's a nightmare. I'm so sorry that there was a couple minutes of black screen there for a second. We're having some really major technical difficulties. But anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about. The priest, I think, or the pastor, or whatever he was. Okay, basically, oh yeah. Okay, so like she had this like friendship dynamic with the priest, pastor, or whatever, but then they like stopped being friends because of, and said it's being so weird. I don't think we should do this on my channel anymore. That would really suck, and if we can't though, because like this whole part of the whole live show thing. But anyway, so like the pastor and her stop being friends, but then like later on in the book, after she's having like issues with the girlfriend, and they sort of break up for a little bit, and the girlfriend like calls her back and is like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, we need to get back together. And then Carmen like goes to that pastor and his wife and is like, what do I do? And he like helps her through it, and he's like, don't give in, like you're stronger than this. And so it was just a really interesting dynamic, and it was interesting how the author pulled that kind of thing in, like something that happened at the beginning that you thought was kind of or that you thought was non-helpful. What's the word I'm looking for? Not like it wasn't like a big thing for the story, but it turns out to be like really impactful once you get later into the book. The whole like abuse situation was really intense. But there were like a lot of good scenes, especially at the beginning of their relationship, where things were good with them and their relationship was fine. But then there would be like things that the girlfriend would do that would like kind of hint that there was something wrong with this relationship. But Carmen just didn't know how to leave, and she didn't want to leave. Like she loved this girl. And there was a part where they sort of become like polygamous, or I think that's the word, where basically they're like are in kind of like an open relationship kind of thing with this other girl, Val. And so like the three of them are kind of like in a relationship for a little bit. And Carmen doesn't really want that, but she wants to do whatever she can to keep the girlfriend safe, or not safe, happy. That's the word I was looking for, not safe. She wants to do whatever she can to keep the girlfriend happy. And so like she just agrees with it because that's what the girlfriend wants. And then eventually like they sort of break it off with Val, they're together again, and then they like go to different colleges, they're like doing long distance, but they're like working through it and it's fine. But then they start living together and things just sort of go downhill. Basically like the girlfriend would have these like episodes where she'd be really like angry at Carmen a lot, and she would like whisper things like, you're a blankety blank and I hate you, and like she literally swore like so much, and like just these awful things that she would whisper to this girl she supposedly loves. And Carmen would be like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then like issues would happen where like the girlfriend would be like, you need to be out of here right now and whatever, and like things would happen, and then literally like a couple hours later the girlfriend would come back and be like, hey baby, what's wrong? And so then like they would talk about it, and I guess the girlfriend just didn't remember that this thing happened. And so Carmen told her that like either you go to therapy or we are breaking up, because like obviously this is an issue because you don't remember these things happening or these episodes that you're having. And so then she goes to therapy for a little bit, but then is like, I'm not gonna go to therapy anymore, I don't have enough time. And but then Carmen doesn't like bring up that the whole thing about her saying about like them breaking it off if she wasn't going to therapy. She kind of just like goes with it. Yeah. So like it was very intense. I really liked the ending when Carmen was finally figuring out that oh, I just realized that Anne has a comment. I can't bring up the comments, only Anne can do it. But it says, it was so intense and so hard to read a lot of the time, especially how manipulated. Oh, thank you, Anne. Especially how manipulated Carmen was throughout this relationship. Yes, I totally agree, because like there were so many really, really intense scenes, both like sexual scenes. There's a lot of sex scenes, and pretty graphic ones too. So like this is an adult book, guys. So just like be aware of that, I guess. If you're this far into it, you've probably already read it, but whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of really graphic sex scenes, but then there were like literally like right around the corner, like things would flip on a dime, and then the girlfriend would become like extremely angry at Carmen and like be so abusive, not necessarily physically abusive because there were never any marks on Carmen's body, but like just verbally abusive and like just like Anne said, very manipulative. And she would just say things that were just so mean, and then like turn around and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember, I didn't mean it. And so like it was just very back and forth with her, and like you never really know from one minute to the next what it's going to be like when you're with her. But like Carmen like didn't know how to leave because she just loved this girl so much, and she didn't want to leave. That like, and then there was a portion I remember when she did leave, like right after she left, and she talked about how like she didn't know if she could ever love anybody else again. Anne said, I was very uncomfortable to read. It was very uncomfortable to read, especially when she had to lock herself in the bathroom while her girlfriend was using it. Yeah, I did talk about that scene earlier, Anne. I don't know if you heard it because your internet was all wacky. But yeah, I did mention that scene. Yeah, it's just like so intense, and it is uncomfortable. But I think that also it's really important that the author was able to portray that uncomfortableness, because that is the way it is, and that's how people experience this kind of thing. And so like this is very much a book for someone who has been through a similar thing, but also one for people who haven't too, because like even if you haven't been through that, it's still a possibility that it could happen. And so it's like when you read, or at least for me, like I've never been in that sort of situation, but now that I've read this, I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what someone else has gone through and like know the warning signs and stuff. Definitely agree. It was an eye-opening read. Yeah, definitely. So you know the warning signs, and you know what to expect and what the outcome could possibly be, and so you might be able to get yourself out of that situation sooner because you've learned from Carmen's experiences, if that makes sense. And plus I just think that it was just like really impactful as well, even if you never, like, thank goodness, if you never experienced that kind of thing, it's still something that happens in the world. And if you're not in that position, it's still important to know what it would be like for someone else who's in that position, because it happens so often. So I think that was just like really important and really impactful. I wanted to talk about the ending because I thought that it was really interesting. So after Carmen and the girlfriend break up, they do hook up like once or twice, like even though they're like broken up, the girlfriend would be like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And then they would hook up and then she would just be gone. And so like after Carmen gets over that portion of like not obeying her every command, essentially, she's able to sort of like see the world for like, and just like live her life for her instead of trying to like make things like do exactly what her girlfriend wanted her. And so like it turns out actually that Carmen meets up with Val, which was that girl that they were sort of in a trio relationship with, then eventually broke it off with her. But Carmen meets up with her again and actually getting married to her. And I really liked that. I mean, of course, this is a memoir. This is based off of real life stories, so it's not like the author just decided, oh, I'm gonna do this. Like this is how it actually happened. And I don't know, it makes for a really interesting dynamic as well, because it's like this girl like you didn't think would be important, and you're just like, oh, it's just one of the crazy things that the girlfriend made Carmen do. But then like it turns out that Carmen gets married to her. And I think that's really sweet because like they were able to find love, even though they had this crazy thing happen to them, they were still able to find each other again. It's sort of like a second chance romance almost, you know? Although the book is not based on the romance at all. Like the romance between her and Val is not a very big topic in this book. It's mostly focused on what happened between Carmen and that other girlfriend. And I remember like there would be times in the book where Carmen mentioned that like she's like my wife, but then you don't find out later who her wife is. Okay, Anne said, I really enjoyed the ending as Carmen finds her wings and soars. It was so nice to see her blossom and become the person she always wanted to be. And Val was probably abused by the ex as well. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Even though like we know that Carmen was abused, like obviously this is the memoir, but like I never really thought about that Val was probably abused too by that girlfriend. Like, yeah, I mean, if that's her personality, she probably did that to her too. Wow. And maybe now they have like the same, not the same experience, but they have like, they can understand each other's experience and they can like help each other get through it within their marriage. Oh, that's so cute. I didn't think about that. And said that's why they probably understood each other and worked so well as a couple. Yeah, exactly. That's a really interesting point, and I hadn't thought about that one. That's really, really interesting. One thing else I wanted to bring up that the author does throughout this book a lot, I gotta find an example of it. So there's like footnotes on a lot of the pages, and most of them, some of them actually have like a continuation of that story, like an aside or something. But a lot of them have like a citation, but then after that it says something that also relates to the story. So in this case, guessing name of supernatural creatures gives power over him. And like there was a lot of those that actually like fit in to the story, and there was a lot of ones that had taboo in them. So it would say taboo, not to speak about a certain happening, and there'd be like a lot of taboos, and it's like this is a taboo of this, and so like it like shows within the narrative that Carmen is creating the different taboos that are happening within her life, whether that's within the relationship or the things that she wants to do with the relationship but can't or shouldn't because taboo. And I thought that was really interesting. And then there were all these taboos. And then at the end of it, or toward the end, there was like a taboo, was like breaking the taboo. And that was the footnote. And I really liked that. Like, I don't know. I don't really like understand the significance of it necessarily, but I really think that it added a little bit of an element to the story, because you can see among just the taboos, you can see where Carmen was once hindered by these taboos, or their relationship was hindered by the taboos. And now she's finally like breaking out of that, breaking free, being able to do what she wants to do at the end of it, despite the taboos that may be in place. I think I covered a lot of it. I don't know. This story was just really amazing, really impactful. I really enjoyed the writing. I know Anne said she didn't, but I think it is a book that I want to read again for sure. And like, this is not my copy. This is a library copy, so I'm gonna have to take all these tabs out. But I would love to buy a copy and like actually annotate it and even like write in it or write on sticky notes and put them in it. Because like I feel like there is so much to go into and you could analyze in this story, especially like a lot of the writing was very poetic. And so in poetry, I don't know if any of you have studied poetry. I just took a whole semester studying it, so my brain is very tuned to that analytical side right now. In poetry, a poet always does everything for a reason. So like where the line breaks, the images that are used, the diction that's used, the stanza breaks, the like every single choice that a poet makes, it is a way for the form of the poem, like the way the poem is built, to enact the content of the poem. So like, for example, if all the images are about disappearings, like a disappearing hand, or like a disappearing, I don't know, a flower because it's going to die, it's going to disappear. Like all these different things also are going to, and like those metaphors are going to build together to enact the content of the poem, which we're telling this of a poem that I analyzed this semester, but like the content of the poem would be like the death of the narrator's mother. And so like, that's like, it's disappearing. And so then like all of these images that were in the poem were things that are disappearing. And so like oh my goodness, I could go in like a huge tangent on this, but like in poetry, there's so many things to analyze about that. And I would love to do that with this book. I think even though it's not a poetry book, there's still like, I think a lot of the word choice, the like language, the imagery, all that kind of stuff, and like even like the way the author chose to put the segments in with each other, like the pattern, I think could be analyzed and really like dug into and to see like the real purpose and meaning of that pattern. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a tangent. Anne said, I definitely think upon reread we would find more layers and have a lot more thoughts and feelings. The story has many layers, many layers. And yes, I definitely agree. I originally was going to read this on audiobook. Like I usually read on audiobook. I don't read physical books that often, but my audiobook didn't come in time, and so I had to go to the library and get a copy because I'm like, I'm not going to get that audiobook in time. And I'm actually really thankful that I didn't get the audiobook in time, because I think if I had read it on audio like Anne did, I would not have liked it as much as I do. And so like I think that was a stroke of luck that I got to read it physically. I regret reading it in audio so much. I miss so much. Yeah, and I hate to tell you to reread it because like you know y'all already read it, but like I think it would be worth it because it was just really, really good. I really enjoyed it like so much. Honestly, I already filmed my best books of 2020 video, but if I hadn't already filmed it, I would put this book on there because I loved it. I will reread. Good. You should. You should text me when you reread so we can actually talk about it some more. But yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Unfortunately, we're not able to have an actual conversation. I'm so sorry, guys, about the technical difficulties. We may need to think about reworking some stuff because this is not the first time this has happened. So yeah. And do you have any like thing that you want to say last minute, like about the story, or should I wrap it up and announce next month's book? I could do that if you don't have anything else to say. Now I'm just rambling because I'm waiting for her to text a response. I am so sorry about the quality of this video. Anne said, I'm so sorry, and I think I've said everything. Okay, awesome. So I think we will wrap it up and talk about next month's book. And so we did post a poll on Twitter and on Instagram. So if you're not following us on those platforms, you should be, because that's how we announce the live shows and the books. Like you'll be able to vote in the polls of the books we will be reading in the next month. So definitely go follow those. They will both be in the description box down below, I believe, and organize the description. So I hope she put them in there. But the book we will be reading for January is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I don't have a copy of it, so I can't hold it up, but it is a very beautiful cover. And I'm just going to give a brief synopsis here. So this book follows Victor and Eli, who are college roommates, and they sort of like, they have like a project to work on, I think, and they really want to see if they can like create a superhero or someone with powers. I don't exactly know because I haven't read it, obviously. I'm just reading the synopsis. But something about powers, but instead of like their intentions were specifically academic, but then things move to experimental, and then things go very, very wrong. And so there's that timeline, and then it follows another timeline 10 years later where Victor breaks out of prison, and he's determined to catch up with Eli, the old friend, but they are now enemies. And it says that he is aided by a young girl with abilities, with powers. And so, I don't know, this just sounds like a really interesting book. I love Victoria Schwab's writing, so I'm really excited to read it just because I love her books. And yeah, I'm just so pumped for this one. So I hope you all are able to join us for next month's live show. And we will announce it on our Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you're following us. Thank you for watching. Everything is in the description. I'm so excited for Vicious. I've been meaning to read it for so long. Me too. And I know there's a sequel now, like 10 years later or something. She released a sequel, so I'm like really excited about that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe to Anne's channel, subscribe to my channel, because the live show will be on my channel next month. So yeah, subscribe so you don't miss it. And like I said, the Twitter and the Instagram for the book club are in the description box down below. You should follow those because that's how we connect with you and how we communicate with you when the live shows will be. So yeah, next month we're reading Vicious, and the live show will be sometime late January. So stay tuned for the dates. And we will see you all in the next live show on my channel. Okay. Bye, everyone. And you can end the broadcast now. Bye. Thank you for joining us. We had fun.